Hi guys, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. Okay. So anyways, hi guys, welcome back. I'm going to continue on my laptop because the sound was perfect, the video is not, and that's fine. As long as the sound is perfect, that's all I care about. I just want you to be able to hear me. I'm not really worried about how my video looks too much. So anyways, I'm going to start over real fast. My name is Joy, and I'm here to help you on your awakening journey. I will be sharing experiences that I've gone through. Unfortunately, some of them haven't been the greatest, and so I hope that you can just take what resonates and leave the rest for someone else to help. It's my intention to help, not harm. It's also my intention to share my truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, because I have been programmed and conditioned since birth to keep my mouth shut and not say anything and be quiet and just sit down and be the good girl I'm supposed to be. And that's just not going to happen anymore. That's just not going to happen. All right. So I'm going to apologize real fast if my video does lag. I apologize. I hope the sound comes through okay. I do put protection around us. I call in Archangel Michael and Archangel Sandalphon to put protection around us. Please protect us, keep us safe, and return any negative intentions or energy that's sent to us. Just return to sender. Return to sender with love. All right. So, as I said in the previous introduction, I grew up in a very abusive relationship. I grew up in a very abusive household. It was extremely religious, and so I didn't know it was abusive. I figured that it was normal for a religious household. No. So it took many years. I mean, I honestly didn't know it was abusive until I was over 40 years old. I'm 46. I didn't understand exactly the dynamics in my household until after my parents passed away. After my parents passed away, I could see very clearly the abuse, the patterns, and I wasn't able to unsee it. Once you wake up to the abuse and the trauma, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to sleep. You can't ignore it. The only thing you can do is act on it, and that's what I'm doing. I'm in the process of taking my life back from allowing other people to basically just run my life and do whatever. You know, they basically ran me to the ground and I allowed it. And I'm here to help you take your life back. I'm here to help you, realize that maybe the people that were around us didn't have our best interests, but we can take our life back. And we can still succeed. We can survive. So I grew up in an extremely abusive household. I didn't know. I thought it was normal. Most people do. Most people have dealt with narcissism. They just don't know. Every single person on this planet has dealt with narcissism in some way, shape, or form, whether it's actual narcissist or just narcissistic tendencies. We've all learned narcissistic tendencies by the way we were raised. Boyfriends, girlfriends, school teachers. Once you understand that the energy that's behind the scenes, the negative energy that's behind the scenes doesn't have our best interest and is mostly narcissistic, it makes a lot more sense. So I grew up in a household where we were in Southern Baptist. We went to church every Sunday. I went to Sunday school. We went to the pastor's house after church for lunches. We would always do everything, but that was on Sunday, right? The rest of the time, I was subjected to very confusing behavior. My parents' emotions were very erratic. I have what you call baby doll syndrome, where my parents basically made me look good. Like I was meant to make the household look good. I came in like literally my parents. I was there to make the house look good, to make my parents look good. Um, I guess that was their way of trying to have some kind of normalcy with the trauma they never dealt with. Because my parents were extremely abused, as is a lot of our parents and grandparents, aunts, uncles, relatives. Most of them have never dealt with it. Okay? That generation was taught to just suck it up and deal with it and go on continuing their life. However, the truth is that we have the ability to change that. We don't have to just blindly go along with what our parents and grandparents have raised us. Okay, we can change that, um, especially if it's toxic. Now, I didn't know it was abuse. I didn't know it was toxic. Okay, so when I reached the age of 13, it was basically like my limit. I was at my limit for abuse. Basically, I was broken at that point. Um, I tolerated it as much as I possibly could, and I did whatever they wanted me to do up until that point. Up until that point, they described me as a child that would do anything they wanted. I was extremely shy, docile. I was a helper, I was of service, but that's because I feared my parents' response. They overreacted. So let's just say, when I ran out into the street, I might have gotten a really bad spanking, which is psychologically damaging. We just don't want to admit that. So, not just getting a swat. I'm not talking about just getting a swat, okay? I'm talking about like a spanking. Multiple swats where they're just swinging at you, basically, okay? So I had parents that swung at me at a young age. That's extremely traumatizing, all right? I had to deal with sexual abuse. That was extremely traumatizing. I was afraid that if I spoke up and said anything, that I was the problem, because I always was. My parents always made me the problem, right? No matter what it was, even if it was just my emotions, okay? I was the kind of child that if I hurt myself, if I got injured, I would try to go run and hide and just deal with it, hiding. Until I found out that someone was supposed to like catch me, someone was supposed to follow me and like hold me and give me, comfort. And I had a lot of comfort, but I didn't have, it was, like I said, it was extremely confusing. It was confusing to me because sometimes I would get taken care of and other times I would get abused. Sometimes I would get listened to, other times my parents would overreact. But most of the time I was ignored the whole time. My parents would just go about their business and leave me to it. Kind of how, I repeated those patterns later in life. That's why it's important to deal with the stuff in your childhood, because you end up repeating the cycles in your life, in your adult life, and then you also pass it on to your children. So breaking the pattern or breaking generational curses is extremely difficult. But once you start seeing the pattern in your life, there's literally nothing you can do but just follow it. Follow it. Pay attention to it. Okay? So I got to about 13, like I said, and I woke up a completely different person. It was like, you know what? I have had it up to here with everybody telling me what to do, and everything's always, I'm the issue, and it was a lot. I mean, it was 13 years, about 12, 13, like I am right now. 12 to 13 years I see is my limit, right? And I couldn't carry it anymore, so I started acting out. And when a child, even especially a teenager, is starting to act out and be angry and abusive, it's because they're extremely traumatized and hurt. Period. There's no other reason. People are always like, oh, I wasn't traumatized. Oh, I didn't have abuse. Well, you don't know it's abuse until you find out it's abuse. You know? It's really bad. Yeah, generational curses are bad. Hi, Dan. Yeah, it's really bad. But once you start seeing those patterns, it's really hard to continue them in your life. That's where I'm at. Like, a year ago, I know I'm kind of hopping back and forth, but a year ago, I got to the point where I wanted to commit suicide. I mean, I had an awakening, so I knew that I was going to just go back to source. Like, I know I'm not going to suffer more. Like, if I, in my life, if I can, if I'm allowed to or able to, because my soul is in charge of that, um, I'm going to go back to source. I'm not going to continually get punished. You know? So it's like, if people who can't make it through this life, who suffer so bad that they feel like they have to end it, they don't continue their suffering in their afterlife. You know, they go back to source. You know, that's what we do. Um, so I don't know who believes that crap. Sorry. You know, I'll break that bubble right now. If anyone has ever committed suicide in your life, I've had to deal with a lot of death and loss. So they return to source for healing, you know, and love. But it was really difficult because, like I said, people are traumatized. We're walking around traumatized and we don't even know we're traumatized, you know? And people that, the more traumatized you are, the more narcissistic you are. And I've been doing this for like the past 4 years, but the past year I've been with a therapist. And with her, she has her PhD, and me and her literally like we learn from each other. Like, I'm teaching her about me, my BPD, and my insights are insane sometimes. You know, I'll get downloads from my guides about the narcissistic tendencies that we have, and she's learning from it. You know, so it's a give and take um, relationship. So I'm able to share like all of my truth with her, almost all of it, up until the spirituality part. I can even share some of the esoteric information with her and she gets it. Like, she understands that I'm an empath and stuff like that. She doesn't knock me for thinking that I have like, because we are extremely intuitive. When we grow up in an environment that's traumatizing, we have to learn the cues from our environment and how to tell when things are going to happen and read the energy and all of that. I mean, that's basically trauma response, unfortunately. But being an empath is trauma response. But we learn how cues from people, you know, energy, our environment, and those in those ways it's how we are empaths, you know. So I got to 13 and I was like, God, I can't take this anymore. I really wanted to just, I got to where I was a year ago and I just wanted it to end. But instead of helping me, this is hard. Instead of helping me, my parents, they shamed me, they labeled me, and they prayed for me, which does nothing. Praying without action does nothing. It was my parents' responsibility. See, that's how God works. God works through people, all right? So if you're sitting there praying for somebody to do something, it's probably you that's being called to do something, okay? Prayer without action does nothing. My parents are proof of that because they did nothing to help me when I needed the most help. I needed to go to counseling. I needed therapy. I wasn't acting out of anger. I was literally traumatized. And I was acting out because I was I was in a lot of pain all the time. And I ended up having borderline personality disorder, but I didn't know. I didn't know I had borderline personality disorder till 2006, which was a long time later. But I had to learn how to, basically, I was a runaway after that, at that point. I couldn't take it anymore, and so I ran away all the time. and I was labeled as a bad person and a bad kid, and then your parents label you that, and then the police label you that, and then, everyone labels you a bad person because then you're out there. I was out there selling my ass, being promiscuous, and doing drugs and drinking when I was actually, I didn't know. I was self-medicating. And a lot of us will self-medicate because we are trying to deal with all these emotions we don't know what to deal with because we were never taught how to deal with them. We were taught how to overreact, be passive aggressive, stuff it till you can't take it anymore, and then you blow up all over everybody. That is narcissism. Projecting, actually it's deflection and projection. So anybody that deflects and projects is narcissist. And that is a telltale sign that you're dealing with somebody who either has a narcissistic tendency or you're dealing with someone who's traumatized. They will project and deflect. They will not accept accountability. They will not look at their part to play in it. They do not want to have anything to do with, oh, I hurt you. No, I didn't. You hurt me. I am actually the victim here when literally they're the ones traumatizing. They traumatize themselves, and then you get involved, and then they traumatize you too. And then if you are like me, where I could be the empath or the narcissist because I've been shown how to be a good narcissist too. So I can go either way. It's my choice to be the empath. It's my choice to say I'm going to learn through self-exploration how not to do this stuff. I don't want to perpetuate that narcissistic stuff. I don't want my children to have to be dealing with that. Now, my children have had to deal with my abuse, my yelling, my overreactions, my husband's as well. So we are basically at a turning point where we're breaking that pattern in our family so that our children won't have that perpetuation. They're going to have counseling. They're going to see that, hey, we were wrong. We were bad. Well, maybe. We had bad behaviors. Okay, we had poor behaviors. That doesn't make you a bad person. That just means you need some help. Anybody that's acting out of anger is probably acting out of character. They're really traumatized. And the more angry a person is, the more traumatized they are. And I've learned that through, my recovery, my self-exploration, having to deal with my abuse, my trauma, understanding that I was traumatized. And I probably don't have the best ideas all the time. I do need help. And that's where the counselor and the therapist come in. But my parents just sat there and watched me spiral. They watched me spiral. They watched me spiral and burn out, spiral and burn out. And I tried so hard to live up to their expectations. Like, I thought that was my job. My job was to live up to their expectations and what they wanted me to do. And every time I failed, I thought I was the failure. I was bad. I was wrong. But the truth is that there should have never been those expectations. Those expectations should have never been there. Your child, like for me, as a mother now, awakened and understanding that I probably traumatized my kids because I didn't know any better yet. But I'm changing it now. That's the most important thing, is to understand that I played a part in probably traumatizing my children too, because I was perpetuating that same disgusting narcissistic cycle that was taught to me. And, society wants us to live by too, because men especially are traumatized into stuffing your feelings down. Hey, you know what? If you tell a boy not to feel, that traumatizes them. Okay, so it invalidates their feelings and it makes them feel like there's something wrong with them. So with my son, I give him space to feel his feelings and let him go. And if he needs to cry, let him cry. He's a Scorpio. And not only is my son a Scorpio, he's a triple Scorpio. Scorpios are a water sign. They're extremely emotional. So you got to understand that people are different. We're brought in completely different. Our soul has a mission, and our parents never understood that, I didn't understand the trauma until after my parents passed away either. So it's something that I've been learning this entire time. But it's not until you drop your guard and understand that this is a journey of self-exploration and shouldn't be judged. We don't need to judge our experience or compare our experience to other people, We should be comparing ourselves to our past selves. You know, where was I a year ago? Where was I a month ago? That's a great place to start, okay? It took me a long time, you guys. From the time of 13 to 22, I was running on autopilot. I was running from man to man. I was running from drug to drug. I was running from experience to experience. And you know, each experience I went to was traumatizing after that, right? You don't go into cycles of healthy relationships at that point. You know, you're going from cycle to cycle, and it's just trauma, trauma, more trauma, more trauma, more trauma, until you finally get to the point where you run yourself to death. People are running themselves to death. But that's what the dark energy wants. I'll just call it the dark energy right now, because I'm not going to get into that much right now. The shadow. We can just call it the shadow aspect of the collective, really, because it's not bad. It's just the shadow aspect. This is stuff that we accept in ourselves, and that way we can help others. Everything that we went through is an experience that we can help. It's either for us to learn from or help someone else learn from it. Let's see. It's extremely difficult now that I'm awakened, because like I said, I can see the projection and deflection in almost every single person. And it's just like, well, it's not that we are dealing with 100% narcissistic people. There's a lot of people running around with narcissistic tendencies on autopilot because they've never dealt with their trauma, because they don't know it was trauma. They didn't know it was abuse. And so it kind of takes a part of you to have some type of acceptance to let people just be who they are. We have to just let people be who they are. My counselor and I call it radical acceptance, which is like step 1 for me on my 12-step program that I'm teaching as well. But radical acceptance. Once you can get to radical acceptance, it is what it is. You can really just accept that the experience is what it is, and you can move forward in a different experience. You don't have to continually perpetuate what we were taught. You can change. You can change that. Now, the problem that I have is that I got to a point where I wanted to work on this and change, and I'm married, and it's extremely difficult to do with another person who's not on board yet. And I told him that. It was I'm still married to this person. We're still here. I don't know how. I don't know how he's still coming home. I have no idea. But I know that I just have to, I accept it is what it is, right? I don't compare my experience to other people's. That's extremely important. That's my coffee pot, if you heard that beeping. Yeah, you guys, I'm kind of just asking my guides where to continue here. I think that it's important, like I want to point this out too, because like I touched on it, but the patterns that we experienced as a child, we're going to repeat those patterns until we deal with it. I'm going to repeat that. You're going to experience the same childhood patterns and experiences until you heal your trauma. That means you get to a point where it's not that you're okay with being traumatized. It's not that you're okay with the things that the person hurt you did. It's not that you're okay with the behavior. That's absolutely nothing to do with that. What we're doing is accepting it, accepting that it happened. Just, it happened. It happened. That's it. And we don't want to perpetuate that. The abuse happened. I don't want to repeat it. If you can get to that point, then you can break the cycles in your family. And you can start over. and you can let go of all relationships, whether it's platonic or romantic. Let them go so that you can make room for people who are healing, healed, on a healing journey, and who are meant to be in your life. All right? I feel like that's a good start. But this is something that, unfortunately, I have experience with, because I not only did I grow up with it, but I perpetuated it in all of my relationships. I found abusers. I found unemotional men, especially the men who are emotionally unavailable. Because that's how I was raised, and I was continuing patterns and toxic cycles I didn't even know. I didn't know that I was doing. I did not know that, you know? And so because I didn't know I was perpetuating the negativity and all of the trauma that I had experienced, once you see that, it's kind of a cringe moment, I'm not going to lie. But you can change it. It gives you the ability to make a change and do something different so that you don't have to perpetuate the toxicity in all of your relationships. You don't have to, perpetuate that. You can change it and have a full life with love and fulfillment and satisfaction, joy, happiness, peace, love, reciprocated love, right? So I hope this helped. I'm going to go ahead and end it now. But I know what I'm doing now for future lives, and I'm really excited to continue. I probably will be doing this. I kind of want to do it every week. I want to see other people. If you guys want to hop on with me, you're more than welcome to do so. I'd love to hear your input. I'd love to hear your voices. I'm not alone. You're not alone. The world is a better place with you in it. Understand that no matter what you've been through, the world is a better place with you here. Okay? Please reach out to somebody. If you're in recovery, reach out to those of us. I mean, you can reach out to anybody. Just reach out. I get all the notifications in this group. Yeah, of course. No problem, Dan. Of course. So I will see you guys next time. And I love you guys. I'll see you guys later. Bye.